Right now, I want you to make a completely free choice. Pick one number, 7 or 13. Got one? Okay, now here's the uncomfortable question. Did you choose that number, or did your brain choose it before you became aware of the decision? It sounds like a weird philosophical puzzle, the kind of thing people debate at 2 a.m. after watching too many documentaries. But over the last few decades, neuroscientists, psychologists, and philosophers have stumbled into a possibility that's both fascinating and deeply unsettling. What if your feeling of being in control isn't actually proof that you're in control? What if every decision you've ever made, every career choice, every relationship, every embarrassing text you've sent at midnight, was determined long before you consciously experienced making the choice? In other words, what if free will is an illusion? And if that's true, who's really driving the car? Most of us never question free will. It feels obvious. You decide what to eat. You decide where to go. You decide whether to keep watching this video. Hopefully, you choose wisely. The feeling of agency, the sense that I am making this happen, is one of the most fundamental parts of being human. It's woven into almost everything. Our legal systems, our moral beliefs, our relationships, our sense of identity. If someone asks why you became a teacher, a doctor, an artist, or a plumber, you don't usually say, because trillions of particles interacted according to the laws of physics. You say, because I chose to. Case closed. Except, what if that feeling isn't telling the whole story? Because science has uncovered some strange evidence suggesting that conscious choice may not happen when we think it does. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted an experiment that would become one of the most controversial in neuroscience. Participants sat in front of a clock. Their task was simple: move a finger whenever they felt like it. No planning, no instructions, just decide spontaneously. Meanwhile, researchers measured activity in their brains. Here's where things got weird. A pattern of brain activity appeared before participants reported making the conscious decision to move. In other words, their brains seemed to begin preparing the action before they became aware of choosing it. Imagine finding out your dog somehow opened the fridge before you even decided to get a snack. Something appears to be acting before you enter the story. And later experiments pushed this idea even further. In some studies, researchers could predict a participant's choice several seconds before the participant consciously knew what they would choose. Not perfectly, but often enough to make people uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Because if your brain starts making decisions before you're aware of them, then what exactly is consciousness doing? Is it making choices? Or is it simply receiving the news after the decision has already been made? Let's imagine something. A friend asks why you bought a particular shirt. You answer, I liked the color. Seems reasonable. But what if the real reason was a combination of childhood experiences, advertising exposure, current mood, social influences, genetics, and thousands of unconscious processes you never noticed? Your conscious explanation might only be a small piece of the puzzle. The brain is remarkably good at creating stories that make our actions seem logical. Psychologists have found countless examples where people confidently explain decisions even when those explanations are completely wrong. Not because they're lying, because the brain genuinely believes the story it's telling. It's possible that consciousness functions less like a CEO making every decision and more like a press secretary explaining decisions after they're already underway. The press conference sounds convincing, but the meeting happened earlier, behind closed doors. Let's go bigger. Imagine rewinding the universe. Every atom, every star, every event, all the way back. Then press play again. Would everything happen exactly the same way? Would you still be watching this video? Would you still have the same friends? Would you still accidentally wave back at someone who wasn't waving at you? Some philosophers argue yes. If every event is caused by previous events, then your choices are simply the latest dominoes in an endless chain stretching back before you were born. You didn't choose your genes. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose where you grew up. You didn't choose most of the experiences that shaped your personality. And all of those factors influence every decision you make. When you really start pulling on that thread, it becomes difficult to find the point where a completely independent you enters the picture. The dominoes just keep going. At this point, some viewers are probably having an existential emergency. If free will isn't real, why do anything? Why work hard? Why be responsible? Why not spend the next decade eating cereal on the couch? First of all, because eventually you'd run out of cereal. More importantly, even if your choices are determined by prior causes, those choices still have consequences. A thermostat doesn't have free will, yet it still changes the temperature of a room. A chess computer doesn't have free will, yet it can destroy your confidence in under 10 minutes. The fact that something follows rules doesn't mean it stops mattering. Your decisions still shape the future. The debate is about where those decisions come from, not whether they have effects. But here's the twist. Not everyone agrees that the science kills free will. Far from it. Some researchers argue that experiments like Libet's are often misunderstood. Moving a finger in a lab isn't the same as making a meaningful life decision. Choosing a career, starting a family, moving across the world. Those involve reflection, planning, and reasoning over long periods of time. Others argue that free will doesn't require being independent of causes. Maybe free will simply means acting according to your own desires, values, and reasoning, even if those things have causes. In that view, freedom isn't being outside the chain. Freedom is being the chain, and suddenly the debate becomes much less straightforward. So, what if free will is an illusion? The honest answer is that nobody knows. Not philosophers, not neuroscientists, not psychologists. The evidence raises profound questions, but it doesn't provide a final verdict. What we do know is this: your brain is performing incomprehensibly complex calculations every second. Most of them happen outside awareness. Your thoughts emerge from processes you never see. Your decisions may begin before you experience them, and the person you call you might be far stranger than you realize. Maybe you're the author of your choices, maybe you're the narrator, or maybe you're somehow both at the same time. Either way, one mystery remains. Why does it feel so much like we're in control? And if that feeling itself was determined, were you ever free to disagree? If you enjoyed this exploration into one of the deepest questions in science and philosophy, subscribe for more videos on consciousness, psychology, and the hidden mechanisms shaping human experience. And before you click away, ask yourself one final question. Did you choose to watch this video, or was that decision already made long before you thought it was?